My quest for love seemed endless until I matched with the stunning and oddly familiar Sarah. Our date at a cozy restaurant was perfect until a single question sparked an explosive reaction from Sarah, unraveling secrets and sparking a dramatic confrontation. I've been on the hunt for the right woman for years. I know it sounds corny, but there's nothing I want more than to settle down with the love of my life. Unfortunately, fate always seems to have other plans. Trust me, it's been a saga. After a particularly disastrous date that ended with the girl I'd invited to coffee being arrested, Mom stepped in and set me up with one of her friend's nieces. We got along great, but there was never a genuine spark. The next woman Mom set me up with was a stunning HR admin who I had nothing in common with. Then there was the nail technician my grandma set me up with. Yes, even Grandma was setting me up at one point. The nail tech turned out to be super career-driven, with no interest in settling or starting a family. I was starting to think I was destined to stay single forever. The endless dates that led nowhere, the awkward small talk, the forced smiles, it was getting old. Mom said I was being too picky, that I ought to get to know the women I dated a bit better. Maybe she was right, but I guess I was hung up on the idea that I'd know the right woman for me when I met her. I just had to find her, a seemingly impossible task. Just when I was about to throw in the towel, I came across Sarah's profile on a dating app. Her profile pic took my breath away. She was stunning, absolutely gorgeous, but there was something oddly familiar about her. My heart skipped a beat. Intrigued, I swiped right, and to my surprise, we matched. Wasting no time, I asked her out. The restaurant where we agreed to meet that weekend was cozy, the kind of place where the lighting is just right and the ambience makes you feel like you're in a movie. I arrived early, nerves tingling. When Sarah walked in, she looked even more beautiful in person. Her smile was radiant. We ordered our meals, and the conversation flowed easily at first. I listened more than I spoke, my mind racing as she talked about her job, her hobbies, and how she loved hiking. As we moved to dessert, I could sense a shift in the atmosphere. It was time to ask the million-dollar question. "Hey, Sarah," I began, trying to sound casual. "No offense, but is it cool you're going on dates while your husband's deployed?" Her smile vanished instantly, replaced by a look of sheer panic. My heart pounded in my chest. I knew this was the moment everything would unravel. "What did you just say?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I mean, Mark's a good friend of mine. I just didn't think you'd be, dating," I replied, trying to maintain my composure. "I can't believe this. How dare you? You set me up," she snapped, her voice rising with anger. "How dare I? You're the one who's cheating while he's serving overseas," I said calmly, my own anger simmering beneath the surface. You see, Sarah was right. I had set her up. The moment I saw her profile, I recognized her. She was my college friend's wife. I hadn't seen her in years, but the familiarity was unmistakable. Before our date, I called my friend, now stationed overseas, to catch up and subtly probe if they were still together. When he told me everything was fine between them, I knew she was cheating on him. My heart went out to Mark. He deserved to know the truth, so I told him everything. We made a plan to expose her, and that's how Sarah and I ended up at the restaurant, surrounded by her friends and relatives. They all knew what was going on, ready to witness the truth unfold. When Sarah stood up, her chair scraped against the wooden floor, the sound cutting through the low hum of conversation in the restaurant. She was red-faced, her eyes darting around like a trapped animal. Her eyes widened when she noticed the group of people staring at us, Mark's mom and other relatives among them. "What are you staring at? Why are you all here?" Her voice was a mix of confusion and anger, loud enough to make heads turn. I could feel the weight of every pair of eyes in the room settling on us. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face calm. This was the moment everything would come crashing down. Across the room, Mark's mom rose from her seat. She was a formidable woman, her presence commanding. She marched over to our table flanked by Mark's aunts and a couple of his old friends, all of them with expressions of disappointment and betrayal. "We know everything, Sarah," Mark's mom said, her voice steady and cold. John told us. Mark deserves better than this. Sarah's face twisted in shock and disbelief. She turned to me, her eyes blazing with fury. How could you do this to me? I stood up slowly, feeling the eyes of the entire restaurant on me. How could I? How could you, Sarah? Mark is out there serving his country, trusting you, and you're here, doing this. She looked around wildly, as if searching for an escape. The reality of the situation was sinking in. The tables around us were filled with silent, staring faces, the air thick with tension. Her breath came in short, angry bursts. Yeah, but while he's busy being a hero, I'm here all alone. Her eyes filled with tears. Do you have any idea what that's like? A pang of guilt hit me then. I knew exactly what it was like to be lonely, but before I could say anything, Mark's mom stepped closer. You knew what you were getting into, Sarah, and we've all done what we can to support you. She gestured to Mark's other relatives. But you betrayed him anyway. You lied to all of us. Sarah's shoulders slumped, and she seemed to shrink before our eyes. I can't believe this is happening, she muttered, more to herself than anyone else. Then, without another word, she turned and walked out of the restaurant, her head held high but her face a mask of humiliation. The doors swung shut behind her with a finality that seemed to echo through the room. The silence that followed was heavy. I sat back down, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. This was not how I had imagined it would go, but it was necessary. Mark's mom sat down beside me, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Thank you," she said softly. "You did the right thing." I nodded, trying to smile. It was the least I could do. Mark deserves to know the truth. One of Mark's friends, a burly guy named Tom, chimed in. "Man, this sucks. I can't believe she did that to him." "Yeah," I agreed. "It's hard to believe, but at least now he knows. He deserves someone who will be faithful." We talked for a while longer, sharing stories about Mark and trying to make sense of the betrayal. The mood was somber, but there was a sense of solidarity among us. We were all there for Mark, united by our loyalty to him. Later that night, I found myself alone, standing on the steps of a grand building near my apartment. The reality of what had happened was still sinking in. I took out my phone and dialed Mark's number, my fingers trembling slightly. He answered on the second ring. "Hey, how did it go?" "About as bad as can be expected, Mark," I began, my voice hesitant. I took a deep breath and told him everything, from the moment we arrived at the restaurant to where she stormed out. As I spoke, I could hear the pain in his silence. "John," he finally said, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you. Thank you for helping me uncover the truth. I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," I replied. "I just wanted you to know. You deserve better, Mark." "Yeah," he sighed. "I guess I do. It hurts, you know?" "I know," I said softly, "but you'll get through this. You're one of the strongest people I know." We talked for a little longer, and when we finally hung up, I felt a sense of closure. It wasn't a happy ending, but it was the right thing to do. As I headed home, reflecting on the night's events, I realized something important. Finding the right person wasn't just about the spark or the connection. It was about values, loyalty, honesty, integrity. Those were the things that truly mattered. I didn't know when or if I would find the right person, but I knew I would keep searching, because somewhere out there was someone who believed in the same things I did. And until I found her, I would hold on to the hope that true love and integrity would guide me to the right person.